Hello, and welcome to the Nature of Education podcast. This may not be the voice that you are expecting to hear. My name is Yvonne Doherty, and you might have actually heard me recently on the podcast talking to Cormac about my own journey. And I'm joining you today as the newly appointed co-founder and COO of Wolf Academy. So you're going to be hearing a little bit more of me from now on. I wanted to speak to you today about my own journey with Wolf Academy. I've been with the company since 2020, and I started as a facilitator, and I've been facilitating talks, workshops, circles, retreats, all sorts of wonderful things over the last number of years. And it has been such a privilege to be part of, such an honor to be doing this work, and something I feel incredibly passionate about. So I'd love to chat to you about that, because when I first had the idea that I would love to go into schools, it felt like the most impossible thing in the world. If you did hear my podcast with Cormac, I spoke about my background, which was coming from a place of what I call rock bottom. I was very depressed. I had an eating disorder. I was really disillusioned with life. And for me, what I felt like was at the root of it was I just didn't feel equipped to handle life. I felt like everybody else had gotten this manual for life that I just never got. And so I didn't know how to live it. Felt very anxious in my attempts at living it. And I felt like fundamentally the belief that I had was just, I can't, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. And so when I went on this journey of recovery, what they referred to it as in the center that I went to was getting a PhD in life. It was all about educating the people who were going there on how to live freely, how to live a life without the limitations and the perceptions and the behaviors that come with an eating disorder. When I was there, a big focus that we had was on writing down our dreams, on things that we would love to do someday, the big vision we might have had, something to ignite that light of hope within us to move towards something, because we need to have a compelling future in order to take action each day. We need that inspiration. And Cormac spoke recently about inspiring and about empowering young people. And educating is something that I think just comes hand in hand with that. When I was at that centre, I wrote down one of the things that I'd love to do is someday go around schools and share what I have learned, share my experience with young people, because I feel like that is where it was missing. That was where I had no idea how to navigate challenging thoughts, how to deal with difficult emotions, how to overcome fear, how to regulate anxiety, how to make plans that felt like my own and weren't just me ticking boxes to try and impress other people or to do what I thought I should do or to live a life that truly belonged to somebody else. To me, those are fundamental skills, and many of us are not taught those things. And if I could do one thing, I felt like with my experience was to try and prevent that happening to other people. To be able to take what I had learned and share that with others just felt like the most important thing I could do with that, to use that for other people to grow within. Going through that experience, it felt like it brought meaning to it, to be like, someday I'll use this to inspire and empower other people. But I had no idea how. And it was just something that I had written down, kind of not forgotten about, but hadn't really actively pursued for a number of years. And throughout that time, I ended up meeting Cormac through Pizza Sunday Club, which he was doing, giving pizza to homeless people. And after that, got chatting. He was writing a blog. I was writing a blog at the time as well, both writers. And I kept up to date with his blog as he was traveling. Then I was traveling. And when I came home in 2020, he had seen some of the work that I've been doing around life coaching, some of the messages that I was sharing, and a lot of the values aligned. And he ended up asking me to do an online course for a program that we were running at the time. They were running at the time. I was coming on board at that point to bring into schools, because it was the COVID times where we couldn't go in person. And so we created this whole suite of courses online. And for me, I like, this is it. This is the opportunity that I wanted. And I had no idea how it was going to come to fruition. And it was through all these very random occurrences that it did end up happening. So just one of those nice stories to keep in mind, that if you have something, have kind of a seed of inspiration within you, you don't know how you're going to access it or make it come to life, maybe just put it out there, write it down somewhere, and you don't know what opportunities life may bring your way. So for me, it was beginning to get into the schools, and in those courses, it was called Daring to Live was the course, and it was 12 lessons of all the things that I wish I had learned at school. Basically, everything that I learned through my recovery journey that set me free in mind, body, and soul, that helped me to come home to myself, that helped me to learn how to overcome fear, that helped me to live a life that I actually wanted to be in. It was completely transformative work that I got to experience through my own journey, and I wanted to share that with others. So I put together that course and we started bringing them into schools. And then Cormac asked if I wanted to go in and do in-person talks in schools. And again, that was something I'd written down. Seemed like the most impossible thing in the world, because at the time when I was really struggling and when I was writing these things down, I couldn't speak in front of people. I couldn't, like, if I was in school and put up my hand, I would be blushing, sweating, wanting to get out of there as soon as possible if all eyes were on me. I was so nervous to speak. Couldn't speak for my oral exams, had to go to therapy to find out some strategies and tools to just get through that. I was so full of anxiety. And at the same time, there's a part of me that had gone through the recovery journey looking to speakers for inspiration, looking for people who are sharing their experiences and believing in something because of those people. And there was a big part of me that was like, someday I want to be one of those people. I want to be someone who is sharing something that just lights that spark or just shows what's possible, because we can get so bogged down by our own struggles and challenges and think that this is just how life is, or there's just something fundamentally wrong with me, or I just don't have what everyone else seems to have. And we can get stuck in this little box of limitation that makes our world very small and our life very unenjoyable, if that is a word, very challenging to show up to every day. And so I wanted to be able to share what is possible, even from coming from that rock bottom place where I had no interest in being in life anymore. Life can become incredible. And that's the message that I wanted to be able to impart, particularly with young people, because my teenage years were so challenging. It is hard to be a teenager. And nowadays there's so many other factors that just make that even more challenging. Not to compare, but I think there's a lot going on and it's a tough time. So anyway, I wanted to be able to speak. I'd written it down, was like, there's no way I can ever speak. But he said, would you like to talk? And I was like, yes, I would. And so I started mentally rehearsing it in my head. And visualization is a tool that I have found massively beneficial in these kind of things, to rehearse in your mind, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and what's imagined. That's why you can stress yourself out about things just by thinking about them. Your whole body will react and respond. If you have stressful thoughts, you'll feel that in your body. You're more than welcome to practice that and try that out. And then to think about something really enjoyable. You might even notice a smile coming to your face. That's how visualization works. It conditions your mind to believe that what you're visualizing is true. And there's so many studies backing that up. It is extremely useful in sports, with athletes, in so many different areas and arenas. And so I had started to visualize myself giving talks, and I loved being up on the stage in my mind. And I was like, this is where I belong. This feels so good. And I'd rehearse it and I'd be visualizing the students' faces. And I'm like, this is really landing. I'm really helping here. And then when I did go and do my first talk, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. And that's something I never thought I'd be saying, but it felt so right, because I had conditioned myself to be like, I am a speaker. This is who I am. This is what I do. And I loved that feeling. I loved being up there. I loved talking to the students. I loved making eye contact. You could see where it was resonating and landing. You get those kind of nods as you're saying certain things. You're like, you get this. And then we do exercises. And that was kind of how it began, was with these talks that we would do, or we do workshops that were longer with smaller groups. And we were sharing and teaching and letting the students know of the tools that are available. And this is what I kind of learned through my own experience around education. Was the root of the word that I have learned anyway came from the Latin root of educe. Not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but educe, and it means to draw out or to bring out. And I remember seeing that during my recovery journey, because they spoke a lot about education. And it's really about drawing out what is within, because I fundamentally believe that we're all whole and complete. We have everything we need within us. But sometimes we lack the access, or we lack the understanding that we are the key to access these things. And so when we're going to schools and we're teaching, in a sense, it's not really teaching, but it's reminding the students of their own power. It's reconnecting them to their own resources. We can't give them breath, but we can teach them how to use breath. We can't meditate for them, but we can teach them to practice that stillness and to learn what it's like to slow everything down and to simply be. That excited me, that idea of being able to impart these things, and the concept of education in that sense, where it's not that there's a hierarchy. We're not trying to dictate to them anything. We're not telling them this is what you should do. We're saying these are the options you have available to you. These are some tools that you can use to access your true self, your inner self, to reconnect with yourself. And the workshops evolved from there. It's always been incredible work. It's always been really inspiring work for me, I've found, where I just love hearing what the students have to say. I find their insights and their wisdom and their questions and their just how they think about things is such a beautiful thing when they have this space to be heard, when we facilitate and create that space for them to express themselves, to say what they think about things, to get curious about what we might be talking about, to give their concepts and their perspectives and ideas. It's just such a magic space to be in. And over the last couple of years, we've moved more towards this circle kind of setup where we're in circle with them, coming back to that idea that they have the answers, that it's within them, and we just facilitate the drawing out of that, the bringing out of that through these different tools and practices and methods that they can use. The circle setup is this whole other dynamic where we're in circle with them, and it's more of a discussion and an exploration. We'll still have exercises and things like that, and we're still focused on maybe a topic or theme. But I found them to be such a beautiful space to really hear the students, to really allow themselves to be heard, to practice speaking. Because that's a confronting thing, to speak openly in a group, and the courage that so many of them demonstrate and embody. One is a beautiful thing to witness, and then the things that they say is just an incredible thing to witness. So that shift I've found has been very powerful, to be in circle with them, that we're learning from them, they're learning from us, and we're all in it together. And when it comes to the spiral of well-being that has been developed over the last few years as well from our learnings, it's very much been about connecting to self, connecting to others, and connecting to nature. And it's this whole ecosystem of well-being, this whole ecosystem of connection that is so crucial, because we can't truly connect with others if we're not connected to ourselves. And if we're not connected to ourselves, we don't know what's important to us, we don't know what matters to us, we don't know what respect means if we're not able to demonstrate it to ourselves. And then our interactions with others are going to be a reflection of that. Our interaction with nature is going to be a reflection of that. We might not even notice nature. I've noticed for myself personally, the more connected I've gotten with myself, the easier it is to connect with others, because I don't have to do all the mask and pretending and what do they want me to be and all that stuff that I used to do all the time. I can just be myself because I've come home to myself. But then as well, I appreciate nature so much more. I feel way more part of the world. I feel so much more interested and awestruck by the simplest of things in nature. And that has allowed life to become so much more deep and enriching and fulfilling, to just be in it, because we are surrounded by beauty all the time. And this is what we have the opportunity to instill and share with students, is to really be part of the world, to be part of this greater ecosystem that we all share, but to also be part of themselves and to feel at home within themselves instead of feeling completely disconnected, as can be the case. So seeing the work shift over the years has been just such a privilege. It's been so lovely in so many ways. And I think what really facilitates and allows that is the values that really drive Wolf Academy. And that's something that is very meaningful to me, because on my own journey, I think I mentioned this in my podcast as well with Cormac, is just I learned about values and how important they are. They're literally how important things are to us. But they are these emotional compasses that drive our life, and they give us direction. They give us a sense of clarity. They help us to find our way back to ourselves, back to our truth, back to our inner knowing. And to have an organization that is so values driven just makes it so much easier to work within, because it hasn't always been the same throughout the years. There have been ideas that have not gone as we thought they would, or things that haven't really worked out, or things that seemed great, but then it's hard to get in, or trying to find the way to deliver this message has been a challenge. But there is this commitment to growth, and there's a commitment to authenticity. There's a commitment to serving in this way and contributing and being who we really are and doing what we know we're here to do, that has allowed us to not take failure as failure, but to take it as feedback, to use all of this information to continue to grow and expand and stay committed to the mission, which is huge, because it's not always an easy path to create these things or to stay in alignment with what you really believe in when you're trying to work with other structures and systems and trying to do something that matters so much to you. How do we also become a business and be able to do all the different things that happen in the background that you may not even think about? There's so much going on in any given moment. But the commitment has always been there, and the opportunity to learn has always been there. And so things have evolved so beautifully because we're so open to learning. And I think that's one of the things I love as well, is that everyone who works on the team, like there's an incredible team of facilitators, and everyone is so committed to their own personal development. Like, we don't believe we know it all. We're very open to not knowing it all, because we're never done. We're never at this end point. But we know that the inner work that you do in silence echoes through every part of your life. Like, there's always this ripple effect from the work that you do within yourself, and we can only take anybody else to the depths that we've been to ourselves. And we're never going to ask anyone in any classroom that we enter into to do something that we're not willing to do ourselves, to be vulnerable if we're not allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, to be authentic, to try new things. We all practice what we preach, which to me is such an important thing. And I've loved being part of that, in that there isn't a wrong. There's a, okay, let's try this out and see if it works. Oh, okay, maybe we'll adjust this. Maybe we'll try this different way. And through doing that, we have found such a beautiful way of really reaching students and really creating the impact that we know we're here to create. And another aspect of that is this continuity that we're now bringing in. Again, with my own recovery journey, I found it really challenging for ages to make what felt like progress, because I started with, say, there was someone that I had for like 6 weeks, or you'd have a certain block of time with someone, or they'd end up being sick, or they'd end up going on holidays. And just that lack of continuity, I'd find I would really end up getting set back, or I wouldn't have the progress that I needed, or I would slip in between, or I would find it hard to keep going, and all these different things. And now when we're going in with the program that we have now, or the different options in the programs that we have now, we can go in, do a workshop. They have online courses to work on in between. We come back in and we're creating these relationships with these young people. They're getting more comfortable with us as we go in more and more. They're opening up more. They feel more supported because they have so many resources available to them. And as Tony Robbins says, it's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness that holds us back. When they know how to tap into the different tools that are available there and to use these things to help themselves out in real time, they are equipped. They have what they need. And it doesn't mean that they're always going to use them or that everything's going to be rosy, but they have something to work with, which is so important, and which is what I feel like I was really lacking when I was in school, was just knowing what to do. I felt so clueless. I felt like I hadn't a clue how to be a person. And it's not that we're giving them all the answers on how to be a person, but we're giving them these little breadcrumbs that point them back towards what they think being a person is about, what they think being a man is about, or being a woman is about, or what challenges they have about being confident, or what gets in the way of them feeling like they can follow their own path. And we have these conversations about things and we hear their opinions about these things, and it's a very powerful thing. That is a little bit of the background of my own journey with Wolf Academy. Started facilitating, some say just doing a bit of the social media, I've written different things here and there, and now I will be getting more involved with the operational side, with sharing these different things, with chatting on podcasts and things like that. So if you would like to ask any question, you're so welcome to get in touch anytime. I'll leave details below. And if there's anything that you feel like would be of benefit to be explored here on the podcast, do let us know as well. I'll be interested to find out your perspectives and what you think about some of the things that we are sharing. Thank you so much for listening, and I will be speaking to you very soon.